Michał Wachowski, who will be presenting how to survive an organizational change. Michał is passionate about constant improvement of his skill set in the areas he's currently involved in. He is a developer, scrum master, and woodworker after hours. He was born, educated, and working in Szczecin, and he is a true fan of the famous Paprykarz Szczeciński. Please welcome Michał.
Oh, hello, good morning, everyone. And just let's jump quickly to the presentation. Adaptation to the new environment is an inherent part of life of all species. Many centuries of evolution help one kind of animals to overcome and conquer different ones. And chain reaction of changes in organisms' DNA codes could decide on the extinction or domination over others. It's all about fitness to the habitat and their relation to its inhabitants. Of course, yes, that's we have for granted, but of course, such changes are widely spread among whole population living and working together. Thus, we can say that they are somewhat statistically significant. Mutations and atavisms fighting in each of us help or prevent us in reaching the goal to develop more, to develop faster, to develop better, or all at once. IT projects, however, are, as you may presume, a little bit complicated because they are a resultant of many factors. Now, we can conclude this introduction full of pathos and with a little twist of pathetic flavor and proceed to the topic of our short talk, which is how to survive an organizational change, presented by me, Michał Wachowski, from Demand. So, I guess the most of you already have some experience in testing, in development, security in general in the IT, right? If you have, let's say, at least 5 years of professional experience, there's a great chance that the management of your company, unless you are a freelancer, of course, woke up some beautiful day from a marvelous dream where they finally solved all the puzzle, then came to the office and arranged a meeting with all employees to share the liberating thought. We are going agile, starting today. And I know they for sure expected some gasps of wonder or sobbing of joy or happiness, but I guess you can believe me, a shy clapping from the last row is the maximum they can receive. Such statements will make a big impression if you're working in an, for example, IRS, or you have together with your colleagues in the accounting system, which has been created and developed in Delphi 5, right? But most probably your organization already runs something agile-ish, yeah. Therefore, yawning of consternation will summarize the brave speech of a manager. But even on your own yard, let's state this question: are you agile enough? And to make the things clear, I'm not an evangelist of an agile, right? I can observe its good and not so good implementations, let's say, even took a part in some of them, and yeah, I mean the bad ones, really bad ones. But even though, what makes agile frameworks so popular? Why is it so? Begging pardon for the pun, but agility of agile allows adapted not only in development teams, but also in other branches of IT domain, or even outside of it. You can say that even running a grocery store in a nimble way might benefit, but only if you're doing it right. So you may ask, how to do it right then? As with most cases, moderation is also required here. There is no dosis letalis of agile pumped into a company's veins defined anywhere, unfortunately. So as a manager, an extreme caution is required in order to not overwhelm your employees with all the new revolutionary stuff you have read in the books or heard during the workshops. And yeah, listening to this is an irony right now, isn't it? But anyways, knowing the limits of the teams and the team itself, meaning by members, their behavior and so on, will point the hotspots, the places where the maximum prudence should be applied. This could be, for example, ceremonies of the team members, cadence of releases, project sensitivity on market issues, age of employees and their habits, and actually you name it. And I think you have already grasped the concept. Those areas would need an extra care taken and probably an additional pair of eyes to monitor the success of agile implementation. This will be your litmus paper, dear managers. And remember, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Even if it's for people's benefit, they don't necessarily buy it at the first glance. But to buying and selling, we'll get back later on. And let's now focus a little on us. Little, but still essential gear wheels. Different in shape of size and experience, of course. Optimistic nature makes me perceive an upcoming change as a potential improvement, regardless of what is being changed. Of course, not every person is like that, but maybe it's me who did not break his arm while riding with no handlebars yet, but reluctance to everything what is new and unknown will definitely won't push us forward. And we have already got a talk about DNA stuff, right? You may say, of course, that we are where we are because we don't dive in the shallow water, but that discussion is really much closer to the divagation of the necessity to wear or not wear seatbelts. Yes, there are companies that failed on restructuring themselves, caused projects die, people flee, and colossal catastrophe, including the canceling of Tutti Frutti Tuesdays. But the truth is that the change starts in our minds. Yes, it has a little in common with a musty and not so fresh positive thinking. Sorry about that, but only a little, trust me. But so how to get convinced then? Or even better, how to be the actual change? And my dear and very talented and perceptive colleague, during some part of global meeting with top management, updated with product statuses, blah, 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 just to give a real feel of a tense atmosphere. As the response for some far-fetched argumentation of Simon Sinek in the background told that I'm fairly certain that no matter what point you're trying to get across, there's a Simon Sinek video for you. And the audience, of course, liked it. But being serious, I like the perception of and want to emphasize something what could be obvious for once, obvious for others, and unknown for the rest. Every successful reorganization starts with why, or even why not. That's perfectly fair, not to take someone's word for granted. But the real challenge is to communicate the change in a correct way. So what is the way, you may say? Being reasonable and giving the reasons. Yeah, by being reasonable and giving the reasons is the best answer I can get. But I couldn't find a good photo of both. Sorry for that. And yes, you have to start with why, like in the Sinek's book. However, I'm here not to cite, but to extend a little and remind the idea of agility, starting with why, is in fact a bottom-up initiative. Even though it was brought by an enlightened manager, it might be still a bottom-up initiative. By looking for the root cause, we are responding to the vital needs of each gear wheel in the organization. And we can go upwards. Going upwards, then, well-oiled gears support whole machinery around it. And yes, I mean around, not above. One would say that empathy is a thing you cannot learn, but honestly, good reasoning of transition in the company gives them at least a gut feeling that they are also responsible for their surroundings, right? One of the supplementary benefits might be, for example, I don't know, higher engagement in the ongoing processes or openness to the two-way feedbacks. And having all of the above combined together makes up a first pillar of a Scrum, transparency. Great. So we have done the first step to the change in our mindset already, right? Or just at least please assume we managed to do it in a few minutes. By being honest, and after some time, we invite others to share a retrospective view of the past. So my and yours and ours and everybody else. We share the emotions, the failures, the committed and not delivered stories, unchecked test cases, unwritten user requirements, and so on and so on. Yeah, this is our really daily and sprintly stuff. But there is a sunny part also. The desire to celebrate small victories is now bigger than before because we have learned to get out of our box, to participate in others' lives. And now we are really close to the pathetic. So I will stop for now. and conclude with the silly joke of even more silly Polish cartoon. Forgive me that, but the punchline is pretty accurate, and you may find something you have already in common. So I have two messages. Start with the bad one. It doesn't work. And the good one? We built it. Finally. Yeah, so having that in mind, the punchline is you will learn no matter what, and under very special circumstances, your failures will be good enough for some people. They might not even be failures or mistakes, but just the happy accidents like the Bob Ross said. But hey, excuse me, but hey, you have learned something, don't you, right? This is the world of consistent inspection, which is a second pillar of a Scrum. And having this beautiful owl stuck in the tree, I will probably not surprise you, but we are going to talk about the third pillar of Scrum. And yeah, you may already know it, which is adaptation, but I prefer the word fitness. And this is really, really where all the fun begins. We already assumed that we are never wise enough to seize the development in terms of either hard or soft skills, but we actually are going even further to build the wisdom and expertise the need of being open-minded about other perspectives. This is our natural way of working. Although it's naturally derives after previous pillars, a fitness is the final nail in the Noah's Ark, or yeah, if you actually failed, it could be a final nail in to the coffins, if you prefer. But other than that, adaptation is a subject to relentless improvement, which means it could be maximized collaboratively. The more parties, the better brainstorm, the better wisdom taken. That's pretty much clear. And all in the non-blame atmosphere, of course. And now, having these three pillars stated, we can place a roof on top of that. This is the roof of trust. If you can find the trust in your company, you have indeed the biggest worry of your back. And with such an attitude, we did it in my company, In Demand, back in 2016 and finishing in the late 2019. So we have more or less 4 years of transformation. We decided to go for yet another step towards the agility, and we have brought up to life a concept of feature instead of layer-oriented teams. Yeah, so we came from the architecture-oriented to the feature-oriented. Nothing new, I know, but software development is not our crucial point of interest. I mean, mine and my colleagues, it really is, right? But the company is about medical devices like hearing instruments, diagnostic tools, and other hardware which serves a lot of hearing impaired people. Anyways, helping others got under our skin so much, and we didn't want to waste it, really. As I said, we formed feature teams of developers and at least one tester, of course, with dedicated Scrum Master as a role, and product owner and business analyst as the positions. Such party, self-organized, were responsible and accountable. I want to underline this accountability for developing and testing the products and delivering actually end-to-end to the production. The rest of the testers became a release team, which were the head of the quality, double-checking development groups by having the holistic general view over whole platform. That was the initial assumption of the management, yeah? That's we now kill two birds with the one stone. Functionalities will be developed faster, and it's going to be checked at least by 2 pair of eyes, by the feature team tester and by the release team tester. First, speeds up the process. We are getting with our development faster, quicker, and second, slows it down a little. But hey, we are now providing solutions of better quality, right? And let's say it sounds about right. All in all, we made it up, suited the organization to our needs. Really, it was something amazing. We felt it and wanted it to stay with us. And of course, we wanted to improve it a little, but I will get back to it later. But we slipped on understanding of us. Who are us really? First, software solutions side was rather small. When compared to the whole company, it was about, I don't know, between 2 or 3% of all employees. So without a needless disclosure, and in a few words, we grew up too fast for such a radical change, which is not bad really, because we have now more developers and testers on our boat. But newly formed teams were founded shortly after the reorganization. They have learned and based mainly on their assumptions, not getting into account the importance of inheritance, or better, legacy. Yeah, this is the better word for that. It's not like that the old company were conceit, but the will and drill of the new squads was too strong for still too fragile rope of change, which were still in progress. Some turbulences happened, but eventually we have managed to advance in agile adoption. New structure resulted in much mature software department. Old boys, on the one hand, raised their forbearance from blaming the new ones for everything, and the fresh and whole-blooded group learned more to listen and ask, and gave up their being hotheads. We understood that we are on the same boat. And how long did it take? I already said 4 years. It took us 4 years to the point in which we could consider ourselves not only as co-workers, but as partners. And then now we have reached the first pillar of trust, of Scrum, sorry, which is transparency. We were at the point transparent, so we can go on, but the rest you can already imagine. And I want to talk with you a little about values and numbers, because it was also a case study done by me for my thesis, but I have used it also for this presentation. And let me get to this straight. On the left column, you can see the architecture-oriented defects, and on the right column are the feature-oriented defects. And please take those two columns as for the two organizational times, actually. So the left column is for 4 releases, 1 per each half of the year, and the right also for 1 per each half of the year. So you can already see that the reorganization has resulted in the limited number of the defects which came in. And we have sorted them out by priority and also severity. So how big impact the defects made on our platform, and also in the terms of the numbers, but not only, because after the normalization of the defects amount, we can easily see that we have lowered the number of the most severe and critical defects. And what also has improved, the number of days in progress state. So this is the state between new defect which came into our tracking system, and before we can close and consider it closed, so it is resolved and checked again by the originator, so probably the tester. So the left box and whisker chart type is again for the architecture-oriented organization, and the right is for the feature one. And as you can see, the mean has not changed. Sorry, the median has not changed, but the mean marked with X has already been much lower. Yeah, so we can consider it's really good progress in that terms. And of course, we have the normalized density chart in logarithmic scale, which shows us how many days is in progress on the x-axis, and on the y-axis is the amount of defects in which were in the progress state for given amount of time. So, what are the key points of our presentation? For both managers and workers, we have to snoop a little for the needs of each other and listen to each other. We have to remember about retrospective. We have to look deeply inside of us, and we have to empathically take care about the others, especially about the new ones. And last but not least, we have to keep in mind the control sample, and we have to compare it to the research one. So the actual status is really valid, but all in all, we have to look back at some time. And yeah, it has been said that in order to strengthen the message, you can use a quote. I really won't leave you with all of the motivational stuff that you have to be heroes of your company or so. And instead, please remember that in terms of changes, it is fairly easy to overdo it. So let it grow organically, but be cautious. Too much change is not a good thing. Ask the climate. And some of you may probably suspect who told this. And yeah, you're right. It was Michael Scott. So yeah, I wanted to thank you for the time spent together, for you being there on the other side of the internet. It was a really great pleasure to me, even virtually, but I still felt your presence. And yeah, take care and do not hesitate to contact me. We can talk not only about Agile, believe me. So those are my contact points. And once again, thank you for listening to my presentation.
All right. Thank you for that great presentation. Now we'll get into the question and answers. So let's start off with a question. In your opinion, why do you think people do not want to change?
I mean, people are hesitant to change just because they are really used to live in their comfortable lives, and they have done so many development in order to make them comfortable that at some point they don't believe that really there is no other way than mine, right? So being, of course, ones are lazy, you may say, but other ones are still cautious about it and don't really want to get very much into details why they should change, and just because they still remember they failed at some point. So this is, I guess, the two most important factors for people being reluctant to change.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Our next question, how about data and its usage in the company? Was it made public or not?
The data has been anonymized. Don't worry about that. I'm also speaking to my manager, of course. But yeah, having that in mind, yeah, data was not public. It was used only internally by our company. And but as I said, I also used it in my thesis, which were about also the organizational restructuring. And yeah, I have gathered it for like half a year and trying to present it somehow to be yeah, people friendly and present it in the way that other can understand it. So yeah, these are not public, but I guess they are somewhat similar to other companies having restructuring on the way.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Great. Thank you for that. And maybe one more question. How does it look like in current state? You were talking about years 2016 and 2019. Do you have any data yet?
Yes, and let me give a little bit extended question to that maybe, because we are now in the even another transition. and we are introducing SAFe. So this is Scaled Agile Framework for Enterprises. And some of you may already know it. Some of you may already hate it or love it. But I presume at the beginning you will definitely hate it. So we are now, or actually me, I am gathering new data for the future because they found out to be very useful for the top management at some point, and they could decide how to proceed with the changes, how to have the defects state in mind. Yeah, because I only touched the defect subject and defects area, but really the company is about the progress, not about doing technical debts. So yeah, I'm still working on it, and maybe at some point I could be there again presenting a new experience from the past of SAFe.
Okay, okay, excellent. Thank you for that. It looks like that's all our questions for right now. So once again, Michał, thank you for your very interesting presentation. Thank you for sharing with us, and it was great to have you.